Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate it if you want to support me, if you want to support the channel, if you would consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps to get the videos out there, and it inspires me to keep creating. Today, we are going to be talking about Love is Blind, Season 8, Episode 4, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I've seen a lot of people, like an overwhelming number of people, even people in like my real life, like off of here, who are like, this season is so boring. This season is so dry. I feel like I can't get through it. I don't know if it's maybe now because I recap shows, but for me, I feel like there's a lot to talk about. And I feel like as the episodes are going on, I do feel that the show is picking up. So I don't know. I'm not seeing it the same way. I feel like I have a lot to say about this episode. So let's jump into it. And as usual, please do not put spoilers in the comments. If you don't remember what happened in each episode, watch my recaps. And it supports the channel. So anyway, let's jump into it. We begin with Ben and Sarah. Ben is extremely pumped up about his connection with Sarah. He says he's ready to run through a brick wall because he is so pumped about how he feels about her. Now, she says while she is not ready to run through a brick wall, she is feeling better. At this point, Ben actually says that he is falling in love with her. And I was like, whoa there. I am still not convinced about this couple in the slightest. So Sarah brings up wanting to talk about politics and wanting to talk about, more serious topics. And I totally agree. I think too many relationships, people do not talk about these things ahead of time, and it's just a world of disaster. So for her, she grew up in a conservative household, and she said that she was not interested in politics at all until Trump came into office and George Floyd happened. Okay, Sarah. Once again, I feel like it is a very real privilege to go through a lot of your life not being interested in politics or not caring about it or just being able to push it to the side until certain things happen. I don't know how old Sarah is, so it's a possibility that before Trump got into office, she was just younger and didn't care as much. But okay, I see you. Now for Ben, he admits that he is very ignorant towards politics and he did not even vote in the last election. Red flag. Red flag. I'm sorry. Red flag on the play. Now, for him, he says, as long as I don't know what's going on, it's not going to do much anyway. It doesn't really matter.
I grew up in a conservative household. But yeah, I really didn't get into politics, or I didn't get interested until Trump took office.
It's that stuff. I didn't vote in the last election. As long as I don't know, it's not gonna, do much, so.
That is so annoying.
I don't like people that have this viewpoint. I do not like people that have this viewpoint because, again, it takes a certain level of privilege to just kind of sit here and be like, well, what I gotta say doesn't really matter, so I'm gonna just go on with my life. Not everybody can do that. So for her, she says that is very annoying. Okay, Sarah was not feeling Ben's answer. And Sarah, I want to see, is this a performance or are you serious? Because I feel like some people, they come on here and they act like they are these activists and they say all of this, but then they're willing to put it all to the side. So do you mean what you said here, Sarah, or not? For her, George Floyd hit very close to home because it did happen in Minneapolis. Now she asks him, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? And he says he doesn't really think about it either way, and he just tries to stay out of it. This man definitely has no black friends, okay? This man definitely does not hang out with anybody who is not a white man. I'm gonna just keep it a stack. So it doesn't surprise me that Black Lives Matter and all of that, the activism and the social consciousness stuff is not stuff that he does. In addition to the fact that he's also this highly religious conservative guy. Yeah, I'm not surprised there. So for her, she feels that it is valuable to think about these things. Knowing him, she doesn't feel like he is openly racist or anything, but she really does not like his answers. And again, Sarah, is it a performance or do you mean it? So he once again reiterates that he does choose to stay out of it. And she says, I don't like these answers. I'm going to be honest. So he asks, could you be with a person who does not have the same opinions? Now, for her, she says she is open to different viewpoints if they can have a conversation. However, basic human rights, basic rights of all people, equality, those are non-negotiable, because that is a matter of people's life or death. So for her, that speaks a lot to your character if you are somebody who doesn't really care about those things or questions or argues that. So for him, he says, look, my viewpoints do kind of tend to lean towards yours, but I really don't know how to intelligently talk about it. Now, first and foremost, I know politics is a touchy subject. I am not trying to have a political debate in the comments, okay? These are my opinions, these are my takes, but Ben is a person of a certain level of privilege who has never had to think about a lot of this stuff, and he admitted as such. And again, there's a lot of us who just don't have the opportunity to say, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to stay out of it, because it's a matter of life or death for ourselves and the people around us. So I didn't love Ben's answers. I'm going to be honest with you. Ben gives me very much that he does not care about this stuff. Ben definitely gives me that he's kind of like, oh my God, they're talking about that stuff again. Oh my God. And I just don't really like that. So I hope that for Sarah, she is honest when she says that this is a deal breaker for her. Because I think right now she's still willing to be okay with what Ben said, when if you listen to Ben, he really did give his viewpoints right then and right there. Let's just put it that way. So Ben leaves this whole thing and he's telling the guys back at the pods, I got a girlfriend, I got a girlfriend, I got a girlfriend. But as he starts to talk about it a little bit more, he is letting them know that she didn't really like the answers that he gave to her questions. So things are maybe a bit shaky. Now, Sarah is telling the girls that she doesn't really know how Ben feels about Black Lives Matter. And one of the girls says, well, do you think he has the opportunity to grow in that though? And I don't know. Again, I just feel like we live in a political era where I'm not saying it's not possible, but I just feel like it's very unlikely that people are growing in that. And as I said about Ben, when it came to the stuff with his religion, I feel like it's probably very similar with a lot of this stuff. He just seems very set in his ways. And I just don't really know that Sarah, if this is very important to her, is going to get this from Ben. Again, as I've said, I just don't think these two are a match. So Madison and Mason. Mason is coming into the pod, cheesing ear to ear. He says he could not stop thinking about the conversation they had the other day, and that he does want to reassure her that he is with her and wants to trust his feelings and his gut. Now, Madison is like, that's very elusive. Like, he's like, okay, let me be a little bit clearer. I am committed to you.
I am committed to you.
Madison ain't happy. She's like, Now, these two are running the exact same game on each other. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but these two are running the exact same game on each other. They are running the same game. They are both trying to push and pull and push and pull to see if the other one is going to come running back. When one pulls away, the other one wants them. When the other one pulls away, the other one wants it. And they are just playing this same game over and over with the two of each other. These two are both so unserious. I am tired of it. So somehow, some way, they get onto some joke about a cream pie. And as you know, Mason is. And he's like, I like that. And I'm like, here we go again. How come y'all two always get onto a talk about sex? So he does ask how she was in high school. She says that she was very religious. She was a nerd. She was in something called Bible quiz. And she actually won a state Bible memorization competition, something like that. Mason's like, wow, I didn't know that the word of God was just pumping through your veins like that. So Madison tries to bring up that he was the first person that she has talked about sex with. And he says, we don't have to get back into that again, even though I do love talking about it with you. He coyly says that. So she starts to inquire on if he has any guesses on what she looks like. And he says, well, drop dead gorgeous. And then they start to flirt with each other about cologne and what he wears. He says he wears Dior Sauvage. And I was like, I could have guessed that one. I don't know. Like I said, I think these two are both playing the exact same game with each other. And these two are both so unserious with one another. So Madison is telling Sarah that Mason was number 2, but then he said that he was committed to her back in the pod.
I don't think I've ever asked you and you were like, eh, or like, no, that was bad. It's all...
No, it was good.
I am having feelings for people I've never seen before. It's really...
So now, once again, she is so confused. She doesn't know how she feels yet. And I'm like, once again, you are looking for the person that is giving you the most attention. Stop it. Stop it. Madison drives me nuts, y'all. So Mason is saying that he does have a lot of feelings for Madison. There's a lot of chemistry there. But Meg says everything that he wants to hear, and he just doesn't know if there's anybody that he can compare to that. So Meg and Mason.
I'm more outgoing, you're more mellow and like kind of laid back, but then I feel like we can really like go there together, the depths of life.
Meg is asking, how do you feel about us? And he blabbers a bit. You know, Mason doesn't really answer questions very well, but he does say that their connection cannot be put into words. Now, for her, she feels like they are connected in the right ways. They are similar in the right ways, but they are also opposite in the right ways. So for her, love is extremely important, and it's important to let people know when you love them. But for her, she's not going to say that she's falling or has feelings until she is 100% sure. Now for him, he says love for him is having a big container of Ben and Jerry's or whatever dessert and letting your partner have the best bite. And Meg is all over herself like, oh my God, that is so simple. But you know what? I love that. It says so much. For her, love is learning and growing together. Now, she does trust their connection, but she does say if there's another connection and you feel stronger about that person, I would really hope you would let me know instead of not showing up. So once again, he's lamenting about how she's a beautiful person. She's genuinely beautiful, and that's why he's there. Mason is just playing. I'm tired. Mason is just playing. Mason is just playing, and I've said this in every video, he is trying to figure out who is the most attractive and going with her. And I do believe, based off of what we heard him say in an earlier conversation, that he's starting to think that Madison is the more attractive one, okay? Because he's talking about how she's drop dead gorgeous. They always get onto conversations about sex. I just think that he's leaning more towards Madison because one, he sees her pulling away and he's playing. But number two, I think he thinks that she's more attractive, okay? So back in the pods, Madison is telling the girls that when Meg comes in talking about Mason, she doesn't care. It doesn't really matter, but it does make her desire him less. Listen to that. Madison is saying that because she knows that Mason has another connection with somebody that is going well, that she does not want him as much anymore. Okay. But for her, she's like, I'm about to be a girlfriend. I'm about to be a girlfriend. So Madison and Alex. Alex talks about how he is planning to buy a house soon. And he starts to ask her about her dream house. He talks about his dream house. And then they start talking about, we need a house. Oh my God, we need a house. When can we move in? We need a house. And I'm like, how did we get here? I am so confused about the two of their relationship because one second is, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I can handle this. The next second they're talking about moving into a house together. So I am lost. Now for Madison, she is okay with staying in Minnesota. She's also okay with not living in Minnesota. She doesn't really care. Now, Mason asked her if she has been in love before, and she says she has not been in love at any point. She's never really been with someone that she couldn't picture a future with. Mason has been in love, and he's wondering a little more about, you know, what is that all about? Why haven't you been in love? Now he says, maybe you haven't been with the right people yet. And she's like, oh yeah, I definitely think that that's the case. I mean, I clearly have the capability to love because I love my siblings, I love my friends. So yeah, I definitely think that it's just because of everything I went through. I might not have, you know, found the right partner yet.
Through just like, you know, my siblings and, you know, I just think I've been with the wrong people.
Okay.
I don't know, y'all. It's just when Madison talks, it's a lot of blah, 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 blah for me. She just always relates it back to what she's went through, the trauma, due to everything. It's too much. It's too much, y'all. So he does reassure her once again that he will be there for her no matter what. And he does want to be by her side because the conversation got tense yesterday and she was a little bit unsure of if he actually was going to be there, if he could handle it. He just wants to bring it back and say, yes, I will be there. So once again, I just kind of hate how it kind of feels like Alex was gaslit to feel like he was being too harsh and he needs to continuously apologize to her, when in reality, I still feel like Madison was a bit more in the wrong about her approach to how she was discussing the trauma. But Madison does change the subject, and she talks about how she was very upset this morning that she had another date with Mason, and she realized that it wasn't him. At this point, she's just saying she's not experiencing the feelings that she has with Alex, with Mason, and basically tells him that she is going to break up with Mason, because he kind of pries in and is asking, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Who is the person you're going to break up with? And she does eventually admit that it is Mason. And he's like, oh my God, he's so nice though. He's so cool. And he mentions that at one point he was dating Meg, and Madison's like, oh my God, me and Meg have dated all the same people, but she's going to be super happy when she realizes that I'm breaking it off with Mason. So Alex goes back to the pods. He's screaming, I got a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend. So Madison is telling the girls, and Meg realizes, oh my God, that means she's breaking up with Mason.
So your girlfriend has a boyfriend? Like, there's no way I'll know now because, like, I hate it. There's no way I'll know now. Because now I might.
So Meg is now worried that because Madison is going to be breaking up with Mason, that he's automatically just going to want to pick her due to being the default option. So she's actually unsure if she should go in and mention that she knows that the other girl that he's talking to is about to break up with him. She's just wondering what she should say to him. And I'm like, girl, I don't think he was going to pick you anyway, Meg. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but he was definitely leaning towards Madison. So I do apologize, Meg, but I don't think it's going to matter anyway. So Alex is telling Devin in the guys pod that he knows who Madison is breaking up with. So we get to Britney and Devin. The first thing I noticed is they had a bunch of scattered wine glasses in each of their pods. They each had like 4 or 5 wine glasses. I was like, how long have y'all been in there? How much wine did y'all drink? Why do you guys have so many cups? Devin decides he's going to be vulnerable today, and he opens up about getting a really bad back injury. And for him, it was really hard to accept that he may not ever be able to play basketball again. So he looked into ways that he could treat the pain. He had went to a bunch of doctors who brushed him off, but eventually he realized before practice that he could take a couple of ibuprofen every single time, and that would take the pain away. So for him, this started off as taking maybe 2 ibuprofen before practice, but once the pain started coming back, he would take more. So it got to a certain point where it went from taking 2 to taking 10 to taking over 20 painkillers a day.
I don't think I ever had thoughts like I wanted to hurt myself, but I just would wake up every morning and be like, what's the point? Like, if I can't do what I love.
And he started really questioning what the point was if he couldn't do what he loved. Now, while he didn't think he was actually going to hurt himself, he just really did not know how he was going to live his life without being able to play basketball. So at this point, when he was at his lowest point, this is when he realized that he needed to start talking to God. He started building up this relationship with God, and he felt it, go to that doctor one more time. And he was finally able to get to a doctor who told him, you have a condition where your pelvic bones and your femurs are rubbing together and it's causing you pain. So he was able to get a surgery and all of the pain went away. He was able to play basketball, and basically he really looks back and realizes that relationship with God is what pushed him to go to that doctor again and got him to where he was today. Britney is crying in her pod, but she is super duper supportive, realizing that everyone has something, everyone has a story, and she definitely is not judging him or looking at him differently. Now, Britney starts to talk about her experiences. So she said that she was raised to feel shame. And as she got older, there were some things in her sexuality that came to light for her.
Like being with the woman seriously. The young lady that I was with, she can see that. She's like, I thought, we may be married, but I envision my life being. This is what I want.
So she was saying she was ready to be with you, but you didn't see it.
Exactly.
You had the one experience.
She basically explains how she had a couple of experiences with women and that there was one woman that she was with who could even see them getting married. For Britney, she always realized that she wanted to get married to a man. However, she does still have basically feelings for women. She's open to being with women. Now, Devin, you could tell this is a lot for him. And I feel like this, again, is another touchy subject with people. But I do think that a lot of people struggle with the concept that just because your partner has attraction to multiple different genders or sexes does not mean that it changes the dynamic that you have. And you could tell that Devin is really struggling with this because he's like, okay, so do you still like women? And she's like, I mean, who I'm with is who I'm with. Like, yes, I like women, but I know for me that I want to be married to a man. So Devin is again trying to ask questions, trying to understand. And he really does keep asking like, okay, but would you ever want to be with a woman again? Would you ever see yourself with a woman? And Brittany's like, I'm monogamous. Who I'm with is who I'm with. And again, I'm going to be honest. I think it is a very... I don't want to come full out and be like, it's a homophobic point of view, but I think it is definitely a very narrow-minded point of view surrounding bisexuality, pansexuality, any kind of sexuality where you have attraction to multiple genders. Because at the end of the day, just because you are attracted to multiple genders, just like anyone else, you can be monogamous. Just like anyone else, you still have criteria that you need to meet. Just because you're attracted to multiple genders does not mean that you want to just be with any and everybody that is walking down the street. And I'm not saying that I think Devin is anything. For the record, I'm not making the accusation on Devin. I don't want anyone to say that. I'm just simply saying that I think that Devin holds the view that a lot of people hold surrounding this. And if I'm being honest, I think this really changed Devin's mind on Britney. I do. I think in this moment, this really changed Devin's mind. So Britney does admit that she would have liked to have that reassurance from Devin with all of this. For him, he does admit that it is a lot to hear that she is interested in the same sex. And Britney wishes that he would have just been like, it's okay, I understand. He tries to say that this doesn't mean that it's a definite no for him or that he's just finished, but it is a lot for him to contemplate and think about. And again, I did feel very bad for Britney in this moment because I do think it changed things. And I think, unfortunately, for a lot of people, hearing something like this would change their viewpoint on their partner. And I'm not saying I think Devin is inherently a malicious, bad, or terrible person, but I definitely think it shows that there maybe are some viewpoints in him that he needs to consider. I do think that it's great that Britney was open about this. I do think it's a tough subject, though. I think it's a tough subject, and I think for Britney, she knows what she wants. If she knows she wants to be with a man, I don't think that should really change the way that other people look at her or view her. So Devin is telling Alex in the pods about this whole thing. He doesn't know how he feels about the situation, but he loves how Britney responded. Now, he is still in the middle of who he actually wants to propose to, but at this point, he can definitely see himself proposing to somebody. So Devin and Virginia. Devin reveals that he likes Virginia a whole lot, but once again, he realizes that they are holding back on things that they need to talk about. And again, I do feel like we have not seen their conversations get as deep. I think that on the outset, him and Britney have a deeper connection and have been able to get deeper with each other. Now, Virginia is like, I'm shy. I mean, I will say what I want to say when I finally feel comfortable. And Devin's like, you do realize the next step is marriage, right? So we have to be able to talk about things with one another. Now, for her, she says that she's had no positive examples of love outside of her grandparents. In fact, she's been picked apart when it comes to love. So for her, she prefers to let guys pursue her rather than putting herself out there for that fear of getting hurt. Okay, I mean, I do think as women, we want to feel like we are being pursued sometimes, but I think at the same time, wanting to be pursued is a little bit different than not wanting to be vulnerable with a partner or a potential partner because you're afraid of being hurt. You do have to be able to have some of those aspects of vulnerability in a relationship when you're trying to connect with somebody else. So didn't sound good. It definitely sounds like she has some walls up, and I'm just curious what the plan is to try to break those walls down, if that makes sense. So she does admit she does not put a lot of effort into dating. And then she's like, oh my God, I didn't think I would have to propose. I didn't think I'd have to be the one to do it. And Devin's like, I don't think you have to propose. He's like, I really do like you. So I do want us to get there. Now he talks again about the story of his addiction to painkillers. And Virginia is sobbing. She really does realize that people can be there for you and say they're there for you, but who's going to pray? Because she really felt strongly about the part where he leaned on God. And he, for her, she's like, again, who's going to pray with you? Who's going to pray with you? Who's really going to sit down and be down there with you, with God, talking to God with you? So she feels that connection. They are both crying. I do think Devin's ultimately going to go with Virginia. I think that what Britney said spooked him. And so I'm assuming we're going to see these two soon. So Taylor and Daniel. Taylor starts to get emotional because her mom will often repeat the same stories. She's talking about why she does this and she gets it from her mom, but she feels very guilty because she knows she's not always going to have her mom with her. So just let her tell the story. She feels guilty that she gets upset about it. Now, she did struggle today. She's opening up to Daniel because her dad is sick and she worried about what if she had to leave? What if something goes wrong and she can't be here and she can't complete the experiment? But she realized that she has gotten into her head. Daniel basically reassures her, look, no matter what happens, first off, if you ever need to talk about your dad and how you're feeling, I am here to listen. But also, if you leave, I want you to feel confident that I would find you. And again, Daniel, you say all the right things. I hope it works out for Daniel because he's always saying the right things. He seems very, very sweet. So back in the pods, Lauren is telling Meg that she knows that both she and Molly are talking to Dave, but they both only have one pick, and it's Dave. So Dave and Molly.
Was a ring girl, so I always was like, well, I'll probably just do the tattoo and who knows.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, obviously I, like the bling, and it's...
Right now, Dave is saying a lot of the wrong things again. He reveals that his left testicle is throbbing. Sir, I did not want to know that. So he starts to ask if there's a specific type of ring that she likes, and she was like, oh, I actually wanted to get the ring tattoo for the longest time, but then as I've gotten older, I do realize that I would actually like the jewelry. For him, he says he wants to get his partner whatever she wants, but he would feel some type of way if she had one of those flashy look at me rings. And I'm like, you got that big watch on your wrist right now, sir, talking about you would judge a woman if she wanted a big ring. Sir, all right. Now, after his mom's passing, he did consider potentially giving his partner his mom's ring. Molly said she would be honored to wear it. However, she does realize that maybe his sister would want to do something with it. Dave's like, my sister has her own ring. And she's like, yeah, but maybe she'd want to make it into a necklace or something else. I see you, Molly. Molly was like, I don't want to wear this man's mom's ring. She did not want to wear that ring. So he's like, well, there's been one other one that I've been talking to. one other one. Notice how he refers to Lauren as one other one. Just listen to the way this man talks about women and talks about people in general, but especially women. But he tells her that he tells Molly that she's been number one since day one. Okay. So in the confessional, Lauren says that she is here for Dave. At this point, she has no other connections. And this is happening, and Molly comes in cheesing. It's the best. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Things went great. Now, she is telling the girls that she needs space from Molly for the day because she came in saying that my number one said that I'm his number one.
Super manipulative on her part. We're here to make multiple connections, and like making multiple connections and then having you come to me and say like, hey, I made these connections.
And she's just very unsure because maybe Molly's interpreting wrong. Maybe Molly's taking something he's saying and it's not actually what he's saying. Or maybe he's just very manipulative and he's talking to both of them the same way. Now, as I will be honest, as a watcher of this show, I have always gotten the vibe he likes Molly more. Of course, Lauren's not going to know that. But I will say from the conversations they've been having, it is very clear that he likes Molly more and they bond more. So sorry, Lauren, I understand. But look, this guy seems like an a-hole anyway, so you don't need to worry. So Lauren and Dave. So Lauren comes in the joint swinging. She's like, well, you know, your other girlfriend came into the lounge saying you're her number one connection. Dave is speechless. Lauren continues. She's like, at this point, I need to know if this is true because I will leave. I'm not going to be in the middle of this stuff. Dave is like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to avoid, this girl drama. And I'm like, Dave, what you mean girl drama? You're the one who can't make a choice and make a pick. I feel like a lot of these guys cannot pick and it is very far in. Oh, Lord. So she's like, you were my number one since day one. And he's like, I wish we had talked about this earlier on from today. And that is how we end this episode, child. Finally, we got to see a little bit more of the black couples. I really liked how Devin and Britney got to reveal some of their secrets and reveal some of their, be vulnerable about stuff. So if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. As usual, please do not put spoilers. You can talk about episodes 1 through 4 in the comments and we will talk about episode 5 tomorrow. Bye.